You just clicked over the other window. You just go back to the Zoom. You clicked out of the app.
I didn't click out of anything. I didn't touch anything. Okay,
You can full screen that too.
there you go.
We got, oh, it's 7 o'clock.
Seven
Jane's
o'clock.
got a different time on her computer. All right,
Well,
everybody.
yeah, that, don't go by the computer because the server always goes late.
She's getting Facebook going too.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm almost there. Gosh, I can never get it to work on Facebook.
Look festive.
Summer.
I know, yeah.
Theoretically.
It's not summer yet. Late spring.
All right, go ahead. Something bad here. Go ahead.
Like to call the June Town of Hector audit meeting to order. Please rise and we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from May 13th, 2025. Town of Hector regular audit meeting. A second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion about the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We're gonna move on to budget amendments and journal entries. I have some budget journal entries. One of them, the first one, in the process of closing out our waterfront revitalization grant, we discovered that there had been a payment made in 2021 that should have come from the A fund instead of the B fund. So we refunded the money to the B fund and we moved money from fund balance to the Smith Park payment line where it should have come from. $6,767. It's kind of an obscure movement of money, but it brings us in line to what would be legally correct. The next one is more straightforward. We had a backup assistant clerk for tax season, and we went over the budget line for that by $10. So we're moving money from contingent to a 1410.154, 15 town clerk positions 2 and 3. We are over on attorney fees from the A fund because we hired an outside law firm to help us rework the policy handbooks as a result of the audit. And so we were only over like $150 or something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
But I decided to move $1,000 because they're not done yet, and there's going to be some other legal expenses coming from Rob, so that we maybe wait a couple months before we move money again. So I'm moving money from 1990.4 contingent in the A account to a 1420.4 attorney contractual $1,000. Now, this is a little confusing when we come to the sustainability committee. We probably remember that at the last meeting we approved, or the sustainability committee requested that they donate $100 each to the Montour Falls Fire Department and the Hector Logan Valois Fire Department. And also in the meantime, they had done some advertising to promote the repair cafe. So we had a bill for $240, and then the two that was for the advertising. And then
it wasn't advertising,
Was
it
it?
was for the repairs that were done at the repair
Okay.
cafes. The parts.
The parts.
and
It was the parts.
pieces.
I apologize.
and
It was for
pieces.
the parts and pieces for the repair cafe. And then we also need to pay the $100 that we agreed upon donating to the two fire departments. So in the meantime, $300.03 had been donated. So $303 had been donated. So there was that money we had to move to the repair cafe, and then we had to move the $97.16 to the repair cafe. That $97.16 is coming from the appropriated fund balance, but last year there was $441.69 donated to the repair cafe. So that money is actually coming from money that they brought in last year. So we have a total of $403.16 that's being moved into the repair cafe.
I had a question.
Sure.
It is, for the first one, it's the debit and the credit aren't the
Right.
same.
Right. We're moving money from fund balance to, oh, there's a,
Yeah,
yes, you're right.
Hmm.
You are correct.
It's a typo?
It's it's a typo. It's
Okay,
60 or 75, excuse me.
it's 6675 is the right number.
Yes. So that number thank you for catching that. Good catch. It is $6,675.
We'll take it.
Any other questions or comments? Anybody want to?
Make a motion to approve the bills as audited.
What?
no, no,
Budget
the
journal.
journal entries.
To approve the journal entries.
So first and a second, any further questions or comments about these? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, now we can,
And make a motion to audit and approve the bills to be paid. A second.
we have a first and a second. Are there any questions about the bills being audited today? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? None. Okay. Unless that's Larry coming in.
It's not.
It is not. We have no county legislator here to give us updates, so we're gonna move on to the public comment period. It is 7:07 PM. We have a 10-minute public comment period. If you choose to make a comment, please state your name and where you live. And the floor is open. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Tim McCallis. I live at 6218 Camp Meeting Road in the town of Hector, in Beloit. The question I had is, Paisley Cable Television is the cable network that we're all stuck with. Do they pay a franchise fee for the town of Hector, and how much is it? Because it might not be enough. No, really, I mean, I'm a seasonal resident, but about 5 years ago, they took the SN Line network off, which is a network that broadcasts all the New York Met games. And then they added the NFL network, which now doesn't have any live games at all. So that can't be costing them any money. But they don't have the MLB network, which does carry live professional baseball, granted out of market games. But last year they took the Yes network off. And so no more Yankee games. And the only professional baseball that's on their cable system is they do have TBS on Tuesday night, but if the Yankees or the Mets are playing, it's blacked out. Fox has a game sometimes on Monday night, sometimes on Saturday. But other than that, there's no professional baseball on that goddamn cable company. Now, I know that New York State deregulated the cable industry a while ago, but, you know, there can't be just me that's upset that there's not a lot of professional baseball on that cable system. But the franchise, but nobody else can come in because they pay the town of Hector a franchise fee. I don't know how much that is. I don't know what you're getting. But if you're screwing your constituents out of Yankee and Met games and everything else, you better get a hell of a lot of money.
Well, I know
We
you,
don't get a lot of
we
money.
don't get a lot of money from this, and you do have the option of working with Empire.
Yeah, the problem is Empire doesn't carry ES either.
Yeah,
But, the point is, there's just, they don't carry the MLB in. I mean, that at least has out of market games that every once in a while they give scores or whatever, but if you're not get, and I wrote to Mr. Hayfley, I wrote a letter to him. Someone, God never even answered. I mean, I just said, hey, and then one time I called the company up on the phone, and the woman that answered the phone probably said something she shouldn't have. She said, well, we don't make a lot of money on cable, we make it all on the internet. Well, you can't franchise the internet, so I figured that my little piece of protest was, I got Empire for my internet now, and I don't.
You don't pay for that.
Internet, but.
I mean, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of say over their negotiations between them and the different networks. We
Right.
do get
But
less than $10,000 a year in franchise fees.
Well, because you give them a franchise fee, nobody else can come in. And I'm not saying that Spectrum would come in, but who the hell knows? I mean, we don't know until we find out.
Hmm.
That's,
Yeah. Thank you.
Is that an annual contract? Or fee?
It's
Yeah.
a 10-year contract.
It's a 10-year con, but we get an annual payment.
We get an annual payment, but I don't know what, I don't, it's not a ton,
It's less than 10,000.
but I don't know. Those guys handle it.
Tim,
Tim Dunlap, Peach Orchard Road. I just wanted to give kudos to the town highway department for the wonderful job they did on Upper Matthews Road. It's been a long time coming, but at least people can drive through there without coating their vehicles in mud as we go up to the national forest.
Thank you.
They did a lovely job, and it was quite an awesome thing to watch.
thank you.
Sir, I do feel your pain. I would love to watch NHL hockey. It's the Stanley Cup playoffs. I go over to Ithaca to watch a hockey game. And I have a burger and some beers and, Madison Square Garden, they black out all their games. Sad reality in America that you have unique networks on big market teams, so you can black all the games out. That's just the way life works. And,
Lee Downs on Sunway Road. First off, I'd like to thank you for putting the Tesla all the way through the road. It helps immensely with motorcycles and the safety of it. And for our conversation earlier, if you and Mr. Green show up on Thursday, I'd be more than happy to meet with you and show you the things we're talking about.
Okay, that would be great. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Anybody else? Hearing nobody else, we're gonna move on with the evening. We are gonna jump down to department reports, and the sustainability committee is on.
Everything, the swap meet, been convincing if I'm student. So people bring items in and they're what we use, and then they're given away for free to children. And we started on Friday night, started accepting items from 4 to 7, and we accepted items on Saturday. And by noon, honestly, I was kind of discouraged because we had way more items accepted than we did that we were able to get new homes for. But thanks to great advertising by some of our committee members, a lot of people came in the last couple hours. And so I would say we got rid of about 2/3 of the stuff that came in. And I think I felt pretty good about that. And much of the rest of it went to a third-party charity. We will then, hopefully try to, sell it at a small amount for a charitable purpose. A fairly small amount actually went into the dumpsters. I was sort of surprised. So we'd like to do it again next year. We think the outdoor location was good. But we'd like to change a few things. We'd like to have better tents. We'd like to move it beyond the dumpsters instead of in front of the dumpsters so people could go to just swap meet and not have to go through the dumpster day line. We want to do better advertising at the time of the event to direct people to where we are and on Facebook so people know this is free stuff. And And also, we want to make it clear what we will accept and what won't accept. For example, we can't really handle large appliances, large furniture. We don't want broken appliances, we don't want books. So I think we can do a better job of communicating that to people.
Can I just break in your report a minute? And Mia, sitting behind her,
Yes.
do you want to say a little bit about Mecklenburg swap meet too? Because you were,
I think that we have a nice advantage of having it inside. I agree that we could have better advertising, that people would know what's going on. Yeah, and having just clear understanding
yeah,
of what we accept and not.
yeah, at least over there, the building is right near the dumpster, so you can be in the building and it's nice separation and you
Yeah,
know what the weather.
it was great, like there was good communication between the people at the, doing the dumpster day and then bringing it over. I think it's been salvaged, and oftentimes it was, like that we didn't have to throw too much away. I
Right.
do have if anybody's looking for a Nordic rack, I have that in the back of my van still that reuse won't take. But, it's no trick, it's really like, there's no like.
And can I ask a question about something that you had mentioned? You'd said that initially that you were like, oh man, we're not getting rid of stuff, but then it did. But the end statement was that some went in the garbage. You were, that, just for my own clarity, and it was, you were happy with how little went into,
I think so, yeah.
okay.
It was, like really broken furniture went in there or broken appliances, a lot of the stuff we had left over, like clothing, dishes and things, we sent that on to hopefully.
Great.
We sold for a small amount of money. I think overall it was a good event.
Yeah, the community is really always super energetic, happy, grateful, get donations to the park. Yeah, it's nice.
Any questions on that or comments based on people that we didn't
I put 3 items out that were left that we didn't really feel should go in the dumpster, and I put them out on our property, and they were gone within 24 hours, so
Yeah, there you go.
it worked. That's why you should put the Nordic track.
I agree with you that for the Hector, having it where it's not part of the line.
Yeah.
For trash will be just a little better,
Big
more, yeah, better strategic layout.
Yeah. I think it would be, we'd like to do it again next year. That's okay with the board. The other thing I wanted to mention that the state of New York released their consolidated funding application last week. And there are a lot of opportunities in there to get funding from various state agencies. The deadline for applying is July 31st of this year. But I wanted to make the board aware of that. The sustainability committee is interested in maybe submitting a grant for the Park Ave culvert, but we don't really know if the town would like us to do that. So it would be a grant to the Water Quality Improvement Program, which is a DEC run program under this consolidated funding agreement. The grant would pay for 75%. There would have to be a 25% town match. And this is a project that would mitigate flooding and nutrients going into the lake. And you get extra points if it also protects the drinking water supply.
This culvert, the reason this conversation is the sustainability committee had performed a study of culverts within the town. This was one that we asked to include because in 2018, the time that particular culvert pipe is not particularly large. It got very clogged, and our entire municipal water system relies on that culvert. And the idea,
We missed the closest to the,
it's the one between
Yeah,
the,
it's into the
it's
lake.
between the wells and the water
Yeah,
system. So
okay.
every drop of water that goes through our system goes over this culvert pipe. And the idea was we should look at fixing it or repairing it and upsizing it before it's destroyed by a storm. And as we've seen the last few weeks, obviously storms aren't getting any better. And so that was the idea behind looking, is there actually anything immediately wrong with it? No, but it is definitely a piece of critical infrastructure that if we could be ahead of the curve, I think would be beneficial to the town.
How
So-
old is that culvert?
It's still a metal one, so it's a fairly old one. It's not,
There were some repairs done there from 2018.
there were repairs. They had to bring in equipment to blast through it in 18 to, so the water would flow again. But I mean, I've been here for 12 years and was there long before me. So it's not like we replaced it and it's,
Did you get an estimate how much it is?
that part of this was if we were to do it, we're gonna have to have a engineered report as to how much it would cost.
So the Soil and Water Conservation District has indicated that if the town makes this a priority, they would work with the town to get this replaced. That's another alternative. I don't really understand all the dynamics of the relationship between the town and the Soil and Water Conservation District, but I just wanted to let you know that this other funding opportunity, it's out there. Like you said, you would need a professional engineer to sort of review things. DEC would have to come out and evaluate the culvert. I'm assuming they would do that since this is their funding program.
I think where we should go in the short term is speaking with Soil and Water.
Yeah.
If we identify it as a priority, they're probably the easiest ones for us to work with.
I think so, yeah. I would agree with that. But if you don't want to go that way, I'm just, this grant opportunity is available.
Right, no, I appreciate that.
So the committee continues to work on, a sort of local campaign. And we are looking at ways maybe we can work to improve water quality in streams and lakes. These are programs kind of in their infancy in the committee. And the only other thing is the next meeting, we're gonna have the sustainability coordinator from the Village of Monterey Falls. Come and talk to us about what they've been doing. So maybe we can get some inspiration from the village, maybe we can work together on some projects.
Thank you. The next on the list is the highway superintendent's report. The highway superintendent's been excused from this evening because he spent most of the last night running around. I would say putting out fires, but obviously he wasn't doing that in the rain. But he was up a large portion of the evening trying to resolve and avoid flooding issues. As part of that, we do have a list of roads right now that have varying levels of damage that are over and above, or, we posted and we're trying to get the word out. And I'm going to read this list off. The very first one and the most dangerous of these roads is the seasonal section of Fitzgerald Road. It is closed. It's not safe. I've seen a video of the road. The highway department did pursue it. This road was already in terrible condition. We had not reopened it for the season yet, and now it's gone from bad to worse. Please don't travel this road. We have had it marked as closed and people keep driving over the barricades and driving it anyway.
Destroying the barricades, basically, because they drive. over them.
This is it's the kind of situation now that you could find yourself out there for a long time because it's even worse condition.
A small car wouldn't be able to navigate.
No. The highway truck was barely able to navigate it.
Probably 10 or 15 times worse than it was around the first week of April. So it's not in good shape at all.
Mark Smith Road is very rough, but it's passable. Burnt Hill is also quite rough. They had to clear some trees that had fallen.
There's
There are
more
some
rough
ruts.
to navigate. This is between those two roads, so it's Seneca Road.
Okay, Seneca Road between Potomac and Wardner's Corners. It's very rough. It is passable, but these roads that are very rough, that are passable, we'd strongly encourage you not to be traveling them if all possible. Picnic area is open again. Several trees were removed out of the way because they came down in the storm. Same with Burr Road. There was a huge tree that came down and that had to be removed. Rose Lane, pavement was washed out at the edges. Rose Lane is being resurfaced, so we will be addressing this at the end of the month, but I had a resident send me a video last night at Rose Lane, looked like a fairly active stream.
Some way.
And in some way the rail trail pipe washed out. But yeah, that's where you guys live. So we ask that you try wherever possible to avoid these roads, and if you do use them, recognize that they're in bad shape. We're aware of it and we're doing everything we can, but the weather hasn't been real cooperative.
You said rail trail.
The crossover pipe pushed
There-
out.
Yeah, there was a pipe put in the ditch, so
Right.
to leave a place where to walk without having to go down in the ditch to walk on the trail.
I'm not gonna read the full report, but I do want to report that the stone and oil, the hard surfacing has been done. And we are not finished. Normally by this time of year, we would be done with the dust oil. But with all the rain, they have been trying their best to get the dust oil out. But instead of, normally this is a week and a half project, but every time it rains, they have to stop spraying. So as you might imagine, we're behind schedule on that. But if you live on a road that normally has dust oil, it's still coming. It's just taking us more time than usual.
Good thing it's not very dusty right now.
Yeah,
so-
we haven't had any dust. We haven't had any complaints about that yet.
I talked to the highway guys and they said that the days it was spray dust oil, that was unavailable.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
days they were, because they were in other towns that couldn't get them done.
I was gonna say, keep in mind, we're not the only town trying to do this, so the equipment is limited.
Hmm.
So that is his report, and we do have an intermunicipal agreement that we need to get signed. Last year, I think everybody was on the board last year. We signed an interim agreement with the county for CDL training reimbursement. Last year when we signed it, it was a 1-year kind of trial run. They want to continue the program and make it more permanent. If I'm not mistaken, this is now for a 3-year period of time.
Yes, it'll run from actually retroactive to January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2029. That's,
4 years.
yes, 4 years.
Basically, if the town hires a highway or other employee that needs a CDL, they will work with us to help get it. And they'll be reimbursing the town for the effort. And the individual will be liable if they leave before, there's a period of time if they leave.
December 5.
Yeah,
I had a question about that. Just in terms of like, how do you enforce that? I mean, if somebody leaves, where the town's been on the hook for $1,200, and you charge that former employee that money.
It's section 5 in this agreement. The municipality will have a written agreement with each affected employee utilizing this program to maintain employment for a minimum of 3 years after obtaining their license. In the event any employee leaves employment prior to the 3 years, it will be the responsibility of the municipality to reimburse the county the amount. So whatever written agreement we have with the employee would be, the employee would have to reimburse the town at least a portion or whatever.
I guess I was just curious about how the actual logistics of that work.
Well,
Yeah.
I just read this, that the town has to pay the county.
Yeah.
The town has to get the money out of the employee.
Right.
Right, that's why I'm asking, how does that work?
I mean,
You'll
They-
have a written agreement with the employee, so. Yeah.
That's the way I would. read it. I'm saying,
we do have a highway employee now, the new mechanic, I believe, is gonna be our first experiment with this program. Just FYI.
Well, and when you can.
Yep.
The new mechanic, yes.
so we have to vote on this.
We need a resolution authorizing Justin to sign it.
I'll make the resolution, authorize Justin to sign an municipal cooperation agreement to do all training on reimbursement.
A first and a second. Any further questions or comments about this? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody wish to abstain? All right. Next up are the parks. Smith Park.
Okay, we were full Memorial Day weekend, which was nice. And then it says 5 sites available for 4th of July weekend, but last I checked the other day, that's full as well. So I have pretty fully booked for 4th of July weekend. And in between, it's pretty busy too. It's come and go, so that's nice. We bought 3 ring cameras. We have installed 1 so far. Plan on installing the next 2 this next week or so. The swims grant funding agreement. Maybe say a little bit more about the swims grant. This is the first I heard about it when I was reading this. It's a grant the county wrote for us to help pay for lifeguards. This is the first time we've done it. I'm not familiar with it.
Yes.
Yes, my understanding is the state made this money available to the counties and then they have a process to distribute it to the townships with the idea of making public places of public beaches and whatnot more easily lifeguarded, I guess. So, and as far as this goes, I did forward it to the attorney for the town and he didn't see any issues.
I'd make a motion then to direct the supervisor to sign the agreement between the county of Schuyler and the town of Hector, New York regarding the swims grant.
So it's $9,600 we have to pay for that grant.
The grant,
That's what,
the county will pay or contribute toward our lifeguard bill essentially.
it's so we can hire more lifeguards,
Yeah, we can keep it.
so we can keep the beach open more days.
Well, it's not exactly explanatory about the.
That's fair. That's fair.
Well,
Our
if you want to read all of this. Which is, I don't even know if the pages are numbered.
I just
honestly.
read it when you flipped through it, Jane. I don't know.
If you want to get into the real nitty gritty of it, this is the whole entire grant application.
So the long and short of it is, we're hoping
The-
that this will help us help allow us to have the beach open 7 days a week. Because the last several years, we've been only
We've
open
not had enough lifeguards,
4 to 5 days, and we haven't had enough lifeguards.
available to open 7 days a week.
I just making sure that we weren't paying $9,600.
No.
Nope.
No, we
That's a
will-
fair question. We are not.
stand to gain up to $9,600 to help pay lifeguards.
Aye.
Well, I was gonna say, any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of signing of the contract? Aye. Anybody opposed? Right.
Then I was curious, are we having enough finding lifeguards to use all that?
We have 3 that we are going to be appointing tonight. And we're still hunting. We had 3 last year. We'd like to have at least 1 more. If anybody knows anybody that might, but the it's available in the schools again now. That was our biggest problem, is after COVID, the program hadn't been run, and even the existing lifeguards were having problems getting recertified. But now it's seems to be flowing again. Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. Okay, pole barn. We're still working on the pole barn.
All right, if I can kick in on this,
Yeah.
okay, we have this set up as an RFP, however, because it's something that will most likely be significantly over $20,001. It's a threshold that will have to go to a bid process. With that being said, I've been talking with Jason and a couple other people how to create the bid so that we can get it out. And once the bid is completed, we'll be creating a bid packet. It'll have to go out. We'll have to publicly advertise it in our newspaper of record, as well as any place else that we can get it. There is also a state site that we can post it on. So this
Table it
is,
for now.
well, we're gonna have to table it for now, but this is a good start. We'll need a drawing and we'll need some more specifics, but we're 65% of the way there, 70% of the way there to move forward with this. So this is not a wasted project. We're just moving in the right direction, and we just have to make sure we go through all the right hoops so that we procure it correctly and in adherence to our policy.
Moving forward.
Yep, moving at government speed.
Okay, website estimates, I'm not sure, does that go along with the TAP grant?
Do you want to maybe touch on that?
You when they wrote this.
No, that was my first initial, that was just the
Yeah,
initial
so-
question, okay.
So we received the TAP grant. The TAP grant is a tourist assistance projects. I think it's just something that the Watkins Glen Chamber of Commerce gets given money from someone. State, I assume. I don't think it's the county. And then they disperse the money out for projects that are happening. Typically, it happens for events that, like the Italian Fest they got it a few years ago or whatever. But we, at Smith Park, we had a volunteer offer to write the grant for us, and then we got the grant, so we got $6,500. It can't go to capital improvement projects, which is a bummer because that's mostly what we need down there. But we can use it for anything signage or anything that helps kind of expose Smith Park, which is important because that's how it mostly gets its revenues, is from the camping fees. So we are gonna, we have a website, we did the website in 2021, I think, or 22, we did a new website, but it doesn't have good SEO, which is search engine optimization, which means when you Google camping on Seneca Lake, it doesn't necessarily pop up. Other campgrounds pop up, but Smith Park doesn't. So someone's gonna work on that. It's gonna make some letterhead for the park. Overall branding, he's gonna look at camping trends and just give us ideas of how we could give more exposure to Smith Park. And then we need signage down there. We're gonna put a sign on the Park Avenue entrance. Because when people are coming from Park, if they come down Peach Orchard and are coming Park Avenue, they don't necessarily know that they've entered a park. A lot of people who are just traveling through the area are coming from the Peach Orchard area will stop, and kind of the number one question that they get in the office is, what is this?
Mhm.
So, and then update to our campground map. And yeah, so that's the TAP grant. So we're working on that. It's reimbursable, 100%. 100%?
I think it
I
is.
think it was
I
100%.
think it is.
But it's not till November, so we'll be sending things along the way that relate to this.
And we have 2 estimates for the website work.
That was for the website work. So we had someone who had already done work for the park. Last year he did a brochure for us, and he did it partly in trade for camping. And then he put in another bid, that's Brian Polson signed, and then we got another one that was actually kind of more of a normal price. So Brian's definitely a lot more affordable, partly because he just broke away from a bigger business, so he's starting his own business. He lives in Interlaken, and he's just wanting to get going, so. Yes, so we have those 2.
You ready to accept one of these?
I think so. Do
That-
we? I don't know. I just gave, I didn't know, so, if in doubt, bring it.
Yeah, I mean, these are,
Because it's between $1,500, $5,000.
it's between 5 and 10, an oral RFP and 2
Well, the
oral
one
written
is.
quotes.
The other,
well,
the
yeah.
one is less than 5,000, one's over.
But I mean, it meets that requirement because I have the purchase policy right here.
Did the park committee want over these?
Yeah.
Yes. So there's an obvious recommendation here. We have one that's $3,504.10 and one that's $7,980. So I'm entertain a motion.
I make a motion to accept the Brian Polson design bid for the Smith Park website redesign. $3,504.10.
Second the motion.
We have a first and a second. Any further questions or comments?
How do you know he can do the work?
He built the initial website.
Does he know search engine optimization?
Yes.
Is that, he's
Yes.
another site that?
Yep, and when you look on his website, you can see all his stuff, yes.
His references.
And is his bid lower because he wants to trade for camping again, and it would be equivalent to the other guys if it wasn't?
He didn't offer that. He does have a nonprofit discount, which is what he gave us. And, he's just new, starting out new. The other person, was very busy and that I've gotten quotes for this for our private business. The other person's quote was more of a normal quote. They were like, I'm not gonna be able to start it right away. And yeah, so I don't think it was any particular reason other than he's starting his own business and he's got the nonprofit.
If there's no further questions, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? RFP, there's an RFP proposal in here
Drainage.
for drainage.
There was a comment here, somebody saying,
Oh.
put this out to local.
I have notes here when we do the RFP for the drainage improvement project. I want to make sure we advertise in our paper of record, and I think we should also advertise for it in sort of the local small newspapers around to make sure that
The
locals are
comment
aware.
was regarding the website.
Well, I mean, one was Portland and one was Corning. So they were,
I thought he was in the winter.
Interlaken, Interlaken, excuse me. Sorry, I thought he was in Court, but okay, so we have Interlaken and Corning, so that's, I mean, it was bid on by local businesses. So we agree with that. And I also.
Move to Hector, he just can't afford it.
That's
That's why he's still losing it. That's his words.
Seneca County taxes are cheaper.
We have an RFP here for drainage improvement at Smith Park. This year, we have been fighting drainage in a couple of key places that have a history of drainage issues. And they have really come to a head this year. And so we are proposing based on. We're going to start with an RFP. If the quotes come in at too high of a level, we'll have to bid it out if we choose to go forward with it this season. And as part of this, I want to make sure we
need to talk with Highway too and see
what they could
portion
potentially,
can do.
yeah.
This is just to kind of start some process, but we should, yeah.
So procedurally, if we were to move forward with this, Jane, what is appropriate for?
I don't know.
That's the first time you never had an answer, Jane.
Yeah, I know, but basically, does anybody have any idea at all on what the basis of any of this would be in order to determine whether you've got to take this to bid or not? I mean, I
think it would be less than $10,000. Because we're talking about a similar amount of work that was done.
That was already done.
And that was around 10,000.
And, it would be great. We have the written RFP. So, and if we can get 3 written quotes, that would cover us through up to,
Well, if you got 3 written quotes and the way that they have this RFP broken down, it's broken down to 2 different projects.
right,
And in each of the 2 projects, you've got 2 or 3 different areas under the projects, so you can keep it under having to bid if you don't end up doing everything.
If the highway can do some of it.
And if the highway can help do some of that equipment work or something, I mean, I don't know.
We don't really
This-
know until we start asking.
Yeah, I think this is laid out in a way that you can proceed with what jobs you can afford to do and stay
that's,
out of a full bid, and then you go on from there to,
so next
yeah,
step.
doesn't mean you're gonna get everything done in 1 year.
In 1 year.
but
People may be asking why we don't have the highway department just walk into the park and do it all. In all honesty, some of the campground area there is in real tight confines. And the equipment that the highway department has access to and uses is really too big for some of these areas. And so I just want to share that because, you know, then there also, they have a lot of other projects going on too, but you know, it'd be great if, and the highway department is always very cooperative and helpful in the park wherever they can, but sometimes their equipment is too big for the job, so to speak, and can do more damage in the woods than we really want to see. So that's part of the reason why this is going to be going out to as an RFP to potentially get the right size equipment in for the job that needs to be done. We'll move on.
So
Oh,
are
you have a question?
are you gonna go ahead and put this out as an RFP, or what are you gonna do? That's what you're,
Yeah, yes.
We're gonna,
We should, I
we
think,
have to make a.
resolution.
you should do a resolution to put it out as an RFP and advertise it.
Yeah, so I move we put out the drainage, request for proposal drainage RFP. With the stipulation that a cost could change it from an RFP to something else, but we have to ask first. We're not approving any cost yet, so.
Right.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Further comments or questions?
Really, we're asking permission to advertise.
Yes,
Yes, including and to advertise, yes.
yes.
You have a date, you have to have a time.
You need to. Yeah, when are you gonna open? What's the date you want them returned by?
I'd say June 27th, and one of them.
It did, I think that was the other one. I want to make sure we have time
Yeah,
to
you're gonna-
appropriately advertise this, so we want
You
to,
wanna put it to your July
I think that'd be good
meeting?
for the July meeting.
Mhm.
Okay. Request returned before the July meeting.
Probably should get told it before the July.
Yeah,
Or by,
July 3rd.
you're gonna do it by July 3rd?
Does that give us plenty of time to get it in our paper of record and a couple other?
Yeah, should be able to
Okay.
get it in next week, I would think.
Any other questions or comments?
There's a question on the internet about a walkthrough. I think like, is there a date for a pre-bid walkthrough?
I don't have one, and you guys just set a deadline, so I would need to know what a
We'll,
pre-bid date would be.
yeah. Yeah, we don't have one, yeah.
And we should post that with the
In the
advertisement.
advertising, so. Yeah,
Yeah, it's to fill
need
in
to
the
figure
top
that out in the
here.
next couple of days. To advertise it, I need to know by noon Thursday. Okay.
What's the best day to have to walk through? Pick a date.
Monday.
After, when will the ad come out, Jane?
If I could get it in next week's paper, it comes out Wednesday. The Watkins Review would come out Wednesday, and even the highlights and shopper comes out Wednesday. So your best bet to get local contractors is the highlights and shopper.
They do the following Monday. Walkthrough,
Is that the 23rd?
Well, when you look at a calendar, you don't want to make your walkthrough too early.
Hmm.
Well, it'll be the 23rd and then
If
the,
it's gonna come out in the paper either the 18th or the 25th.
But, I mean, the,
And you want it, and you want them back by July, well, yeah, if we can get it in the paper for the 18th. You're gonna wanna do your walkthrough, most likely the
So Monday,
23rd or the
Monday,
30th.
okay.
Then there's the 4th of July.
that's why we wanted them to be done and have it submitted to us by the 3rd of July. To avoid that. So
So your walkthrough would be 6/23.
6/23,
Okay,
You wanna decide a time now too, so that
that's probably not a bad
you
idea.
guys are all on the
Well-
same page?
Advertise it, you get it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Monday,
So like 9 AM or?
Sure.
So,
okay. And this has to go on Thursday, Thursday by noon, correct?
Yes, I would have to be able to get it sent to the paper by Thursday noon.
Okay.
I think the Watkins review is later in the day, but I
Yeah,
think it's either noon or 4 for the other paper.
Yes. Can you send this to me?
Yeah.
And that you just send to me in an email, and then I can
yeah,
add dates and things and then forward it to Jane.
yeah. I think you already have it, then I was.
I don't know
Okay.
if it's in the email or not yet.
any additional questions or comments about this particular?
I'm sure we can post it on the website too.
Yeah, we will need to post that on the website. And Facebook as well.
Would we be sending it out to? Sending to contractors as well that we have? We don't have everybody, but. Hopefully the advertising will
Yeah,
get
advertise,
people that we don't have, names for or something.
Yeah, you certainly can mail it, but you need to advertise it too, so that you don't,
Yeah,
so that if somebody
Right.
local, like the last time.
yeah,
the-
for
The
sure.
complaint received that they weren't aware, that's why it does need to be
if we get
advertised.
it advertised, if they don't see the advertisement, we can't.
That's not our fault if
That's-
they don't see
yeah.
the ad, but. Yeah, so you certainly can send them out to people too.
All right, there are no further questions or comments. All in favor of approving this RFP with dates discussed? Aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Me. All right. That is in play now.
So this brought up a question we all had about what kind of, maybe we have to talk about this later and not during this report, this report. Is there any tactics or things we can do if we have an emergency and have to call, or want to call somebody to get something fixed faster than it takes to get board approval, advertise?
We can act in emergency situations and hire somebody to make emergency repairs. That being said, any emergency repairs we can do without getting bids. We covered that in the classes that we've been to. It's not ideal, but we can absolutely do that. But, emergency repairs are designed to be emergency repairs. So when we go back and make the long-term permanent repair, we still have to go through the process.
Okay,
The one in mind that I'm guessing you're talking about is there's one particular campsite this year that they keep having the water flow right through their campsite. And they're a long-time seasonal camper. And would be great to get this resolved permanently for their situation.
kind of, it's just like while the rain is coming down, we're standing there going, water's just sheeting down and we still haven't really fixed what happens when the water comes down the way it did last night, the way it did last week. But, and this is the way we'll do some of those fixes. But what does constitute, I mean, I could see where an emergency is definitely somebody's camper is being threatened immediately, let's dig some kind of a ditch. but,
Right.
Yeah, and it may even, it'll be a lot more, for Smith Park, I can see it being a lot better when we get the backhoe we're sharing with water, highway and water. We have a smaller piece of equipment
Mhm.
to put in there. To do those sorts of really quick fixes.
And I
It's
think,
not coming till
yeah, that's not coming to
September.
that.
No, I
end,
know, we're not
but
doing
long
it
term.
now. Yeah, for this year it won't work, but.
I also, I think one thing that we will need to discuss at the highway committee next week is the culvert under Bond Smith Park Road, because that pooled significantly again.
It was still running over today.
Yeah, it was still, if it's still running
Yeah.
over,
Over the road?
It's running
No,
down along the edge.
it's running down the-
it's not going under the road where it's supposed to be, but it's.
So it's getting through the culvert, but it's still backing up on the uphill side of the culvert.
And then it runs down
And
along
then
the
it
road, and then it
runs-
runs down through the woods and down through campsite.
57.
57.
Mhm.
So I think, our desire had been, they did do a bunch of work. They did try to clear that culvert after the last rain incident, but it's,
They didn't even try again.
yeah, we're gonna have to seriously address this.
You gotta do a
It's still
retry.
flowing water through the
The
culvert,
retry,
the upper end,
yeah.
I think. Well,
Can we sandbag the top of it, the temporary?
Well-
by now it's probably caught up, because it almost had all the water going through the culvert and back today.
But it's,
Till it
there's
rains again.
roots, there's roots plugging it, there's option, I mean, what we have to discuss how to,
Well, we don't know, it might be partially crushed, because the most tipping over, but.
so. I just wanted to bring that up so that we think about that
Discuss it.
on that highway.
Newfoundland group, the dog group that we had last year, they were back this past weekend. That was cool, have like 50 dogs every year. They had asked for a few other extra dates, but I'm gonna have to reach back out to them to, touch base with them after I spoke to Dane, or she emailed me earlier about some things that weren't set for Schuyler County, so I just need to talk to them about that before
Yeah.
they can submit their proposal.
Well, yeah, it's their water training safety guidelines that has everything indicated for
Seneca County.
Seneca County,
Yeah,
not
I
Schuyler
understand.
County, and so.
I had to explain that to them,
Yeah.
not sure how extensive that is or not, but. And then I think, I sold one commercial boat launch permit. So that was cool. That's the only one so far that I've sold. So,
Was it for a
Yeah.
year?
yeah,
Was it for, it wasn't
Uh,
just a
no,
month,
not
it was a
for a
month,
year.
wasn't it?
yeah,
Okay.
yep. Yep, and then the only other thing I have is lifeguards.
We also have the lifeguard chair replacement.
That is, someone has offered to build 2 new lifeguard chairs. In their workshop. And give them to the beach, because the one we have down there is dilapidated.
So it won't be the one of the work day.
It is a
thing?
volunteer, yeah, it is part of that, but he's
Okay.
gonna do it in the shop, he doesn't wanna do it at the park.
And what he's gonna do it basically if we pay for the cost of the materials.
Yes, and someone else actually chimed in and said I could donate signage. They do vinyl signs. So if we put a sign on it, I don't know if that's happening or not, but if we put a sign on it, then we can actually get it, the materials expense through the grant.
Oh, what?
You just label it as Smith Memorial.
Right.
Property of Smith Memorial Park.
Mm.
And this is, total
Okay.
materials cost is less than $100.
So. doesn't.
No, actually,
No.
that was
Furniture.
confusing. That was for one, because it turned from 1 chair into 2 chairs.
Gotcha, yep.
That was for 1 chair, so it'd be 2 chairs. I think the request was up to, if we could do an up to $350. Cause it's the two chairs with like $100 each and then there's paint. And bolts and nuts
Right.
and stuff like
But
that.
that's falls within the procurement policy, you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need,
Oh,
need
okay.
a-
we don't need a,
You don't need a
Okay.
approval for that, it falls well within your procurement policy
I mean, I think that's a great,
in your budget.
I know.
A great
it's awesome
option
that
to
people
have,
out of the woodwork, just.
community members wanting to volunteer, do something like that. That's great for the park.
We need a motion to spend the money.
No, it's because
No.
it's small enough amount of money and just thank you to the community members that are
Yeah.
making these offers to us. It's great.
You need to appoint your life.
Yes. And last thing is we do have 3 lifeguards, as I mentioned. I guess I'll make the resolution so I can just read it. Resolution to appoint Sam Dufour as returning head lifeguard at $22 an hour starting June 14th, through September 1st, 2025. I believe that's his 3rd year he'll be here. Resolution to appoint Hunter Scott as a first-year lifeguard for $21 an hour starting June 14th through September 1st. And a resolution to appoint Isabella Fazzari as returning lifeguard for $22 an hour starting June 14th through September 1st, 2025, contingent upon completion of her required certification. Isabella Fazzari has been a lifeguard in the past. She is working with the state park system to get her certification renewed. That's why her one specifically has the contingent upon statement.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of these appointments? Aye. Anybody opposed? Excellent.
There was a question on the, Zoom just about what month the commercial boat license was sold for.
July?
This month.
June?
Yes,
June,
I should have looked at the exact dates, but yes, it's this month.
okay.
It's a 30-day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mecklenburg. Thank you,
Yes, thank you.
thank you, thank you. Have a good evening.
Yes, you too.
Now we're gonna move on to Mecklenburg.
So we are still working very diligently to make things happen this summer. Like I said, last month, because it's very busy, people are checking and people are playing on the first cluster. These cars are always in the parking lot. All of the trees that we planted last year are living amazing. So we were expecting some of the smaller ones to live, but
Rain has its blessings.
they grew leaves and we think that they're all great.
Yeah, we lost one at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, we thought we lost at least one, but it came back with leaks, so. We had just over a month ago, Will Jennings came and took down the 2 trees that were hanging over the power lines. In that visit, we had asked Will to where the play structure is now, the trees that were removed to put the structure in that area. Just in that area. Now we have the trees that are not in that area, but overhanging the structure. We had Will Jennings come out and pick out which ones he might think were highest priority to take out. He collected 6, so there are 3 that are directly hanging over the play structure, and then there are 3 that are not necessarily hanging over the play structure, but still in an area that would be unsafe if the branches fell. In which case, last week, one of the trees that I thought wasn't hanging over the area, threw down the branch, it's still hanging on from the top. So we're looking at all 6 trees for removal that we would be requesting the town's assistance with in this removal of these 6 trees. The trees are numbered 21, 36, 47, 54, 45, and 44. 21, 36, and 47 are the ones that branches are hanging directly over the structure. The 54, 45, and 44 aren't directly hanging over the structure, but they are very close. They're like directly behind the porta potty in the same general vicinity. So we collected 3 quotes that I believe you have in your packets. Each one is itemized per tree. Some of them had like different stipulations of, if the trunks, if the trees were left on property, it would be cheaper. The park committee met yesterday and we don't feel it's the best idea to leave these trees because they're quite large.
Donate into the firehouse, be great again.
Again.
You know what?
Donate into the firehouse bonfires,
Oh.
like we did last year.
Oh, the branches maybe.
Yeah, they didn't want the trunks, but
Well, these all include taking everything away, so.
With the first ones, it's,
Yeah, I know, but we don't want them left on site. It's too
Yes,
much.
the one from Will Jennings does not include taking them off property.
Oh, Will's does not?
No.
Oh, okay.
It would be an extra cost.
is it the last one? Which one's the most?
Finger Lakes Forest Management.
Oh,
It says at the bottom, haul away debris, costs.
You didn't put sand in there.
Yeah.
And the first one, the first one. He offered that if we did all the trees at once, he'd knock an additional 5% off.
so this is all, any of these three though, it's town of Hector cost.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we're talking health safety.
Well, I would make
The
a,
first one you said, it's 5% off,
if all done at once.
right, in addition to the 20% off if we wanted them on site, which we don't.
Were the prices written on those?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would make a motion to accept Bill Bergen's, what do you call it? Bid at $8,100 and 5%, 76.95 if all 5 are done at once. 6.
The 6,
Oh, yes.
5% on 6
Sorry.
trees.
My brains.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Is there further discussion, comments, concerns?
Yeah, and I'll just say that this is happening because the first go around of which trees need to come out were when we figured where the site would be.
Yeah.
And now the site's there, and beautiful, looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing there's a few more trees that are threatening the site, so that's why we're here again, cutting more trees. Mhm.
well, none of that, last time every arbor just that came there said, cut them all down.
Yeah,
And we didn't.
I mean, ultimately, yeah, they are hazardous, so,
Yeah,
I mean.
They
we-
said, everyone that came to look at the park that you brought to the park, they said, cut them all down,
You mean all 6 of those trees?
all the trees that were
No.
around the place.
Are they all-
Each six-
They're all-
We're actually saving, and it's all willows.
Right, all the willows.
Yeah, not,
Yeah.
not all the trees.
Yeah, I know.
No, it's like-
Well, I'm sorry, I missed all the willow trees, they said cut them.
I'm not cutting that.
Yeah, and they said because the black willow trees, they're
Yeah.
older and they're gonna start dropping limbs
Yeah.
left and right.
And they are dropping limbs.
But we're not cutting all of them, but we are cutting the most hazardous ones.
Yes.
The ones that,
Yeah.
no safety hazard.
So all 6 of these are willows.
Yes.
No,
No, one
five
of them isn't.
of them are willows and they're large. One of them that's listed at either like $200, $400 is a small ash tree. But in the process of all of the construction, everything that happened there, the one, like a humongous side of this tree, it's only this big around, but all of the bark was ripped off of it, so,
It's not gonna work.
yeah.
And it's already got the ash borer beetle like damage like on it. It will die naturally and not in a few years because of that.
Any further questions or comments? We're hearing none. We have a resolution to accept Bill Bergen's proposal for $7,695. All in favor? Aye. Is there anybody opposed? Anybody wish to abstain?
I will abstain.
All right, motion passes.
You.
Yes.
I only have two other things that I'm just requesting permission and, I don't believe we need any motions on them, but, we are currently looking for landscapers to come in and, topsoil and grass seed around the play structure. Leave, like a concrete, not concrete, but stone paper pathway from the parking lot to the play structure. Potentially work on the tree stumps that are in that area. So we would, I guess, just like permission to move forward with that if we, accept a quote. For the month of June.
At your expense.
At our expense, correct, yes. Yes.
Yes, it's a little pricier than we anticipated, but.
But it's still at your expense, so
Yes.
we don't have to pass a resolution, we can just.
We just want permission. We want you to be aware that that's, if somebody's down there with tractors, that's what is.
What's happening?
Yep, and then the next thing, we've been working pretty closely with, Rob Cassetti and Alan Vogel with the grassroots, committee lately about, portable pavilion that they have, offered us for years now. So now we're finally working on putting that into motion. They would like to build us a pavilion, which they left.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, where did it
It's, oh, yeah.
It's in.
Very nice to see you there.
Oh, let me grab that, but you got it? Okay.
It was on the table and I said, what am I
got a
supposed to do
diagram.
with this?
Yes.
Portable pavilion.
So all of the grassroots structures that come from the grassroots committee are built at grassroots, so it's like a community project, and then they're moved from grassroots to their final location. In which case, the final location isn't a final location because it can just be like hooked onto a truck or a tractor and move anywhere. It's not put into the building.
But that's right.
So this would be built on skids.
This is a person.
So potentially, this is the, just the overall aspect that they're thinking of with like, tri roofs and angled. And then this would be the person that they created.
This just gives you a sense of scale. I guess that's an average height for someone.
Yeah, it's actually, yeah, they said this is a really rough model because the back of it was
It's gonna be.
6'3", I think, 6'5", yeah. So it's taller than the, like, if that's an average person, then anyway, it's not quite to scale, but general concept.
So this is what it would mostly look like. I mean, beautified underneath and around, but that's the general idea. So they are eager to start working on this project this summer, meaning that it would come to the park after that. So we're just.
Just a quick question. So they're building this at grassroots after the festival, it then comes to the Mech Park?
Correct.
Okay.
They do a build every year, for some community, place. They've done them at Green Star, they've done, several at grassroots. And right, Trumansburg Farmers Market, and they gather together the week before and do it, and then it's actually utilized. We will be getting a used structure. It's utilized during grassroots.
Cool.
And then they bring it up. And the size is kind of determined by the fact that it has to be transported from Trumansburg to Mecklenburg. And, yeah, they told us that, you know, the deck would be large, the pillars are gonna be oak, and they're very excited about it and came up with this design, and we thought it was quite well
Yeah,
done.
you said the deck was gonna be black locust.
Oh, okay,
Very nice.
excellent.
So we have been in, Jessica's been in communication with code about this, so we will need a building permit. We are working on, they are aware that we will need to have like stakes in the ground holding it down. What do you call that?
Anchor screws.
Tie down.
Tie downs, okay. So we're aware of all of that. We would just, letting you all know. I think we've been in discussion about the portable pavilion for a long time, so it's no surprise. But once it comes to the park, then we can sort of decide where we would like it to go. kind of looking like the ideal location right now is, in the area between where the old play structure was and the fire department loop circle. So it would be placed on the edge right there where the old rusty Schuyler County pipe is sticking out.
The drainage pipe.
And that would kind of cover that up, and then it would be facing the road, and the reason that location was selected was because it makes it more accessible for ADA compliance and.
And you'll transplant some willows around it.
That's native.
But yeah, it's all up for discussion, so if we put it there and people are like, absolutely not, we can sort of move it around after that, so. And that's all I have, unless anybody wants to. No. Thank you.
Hey,
Signage, did you wanna go over that?
we have already started that after
All right,
the last one, and we'll have quotes for hopefully the next meeting.
and I sent you some pictures today too.
Yep, and I forwarded that to the attorney already. All right, thank you very much. Thank you for your hard work. It does look great. The 2 or 3 times I've been out there, there've been families on the playground playing, so it's great to see. It is a beautiful structure. And it's just nice that doesn't seem to matter what time of day, there's somebody out there playing.
Yeah.
The old structure's gone, it looks really
Yes.
nice with it.
The old
being
structure is
gone.
gonna-
Porta potty's gonna be moved up to a side
Yeah.
location, so it's not gonna be front and center anymore.
Good.
Yes, it's been hard catching up with them. They show up.
Yeah.
To service it and nobody's there, so I just happened to run into them and, hey, it's right here, please. So hopefully this week.
Excellent, thank you.
Mhm.
Jason, you're on.
All right, so for May, we issued 15 new building permits, closed out 5. For the permits issued, 1 was a commercial park, pole barn, 1 demo, 1 electric upgrade, 2 garages, 2 pools, 2 roofs, 1 shed, 3 single-family homes, and 2 solar projects. The issued building permit construction value was just under $1,150,000. The completed permit construction value was $680,000. And our collected fees were $3,723. Well, I have my report.
Any questions for Jason?
How's the weather been treating construction project?
Oh, it's been. Yeah, it seems to have actually caused a run on permit applications because people have more downtime and. But then there's been a lot less site inspections in the last couple of months, or last month, because nobody's building.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Water.
All right, for the month of May, we pumped 3,924,000 gallons, which is average about 126,000 gallons a day. All water testing is currently up to date. Monthly reports were sent out to DOH and DEC. My reports are all sent out. My annual water quality report was completed at the end of May and was sent out to DOH and was posted on the town website and a couple other places around the town of Hector. Water services, we turned down 10 more in the month of May, so I think everybody's back in town for the season, so. Backup generators are all working. Water treatment plant, air compressors are all in good working order. The fall skids working good. The service trucks are all working great. Meter system's working great. Lead and copper sampling. I still have to send out more lead and copper samples by the end of this month, and I'll have to do 20 more by the end of December. This is all regulated from our lead and copper exceedance. So we're still working on that.
Can I just clarify too, Josh, that when, where you did do lead and copper samples in households,
Mhm.
no news is good news.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Somebody asked me that the other day, and I said, I think it's, if you don't hear anything, there's no issue at your house.
Yeah, I gotta send out a couple things to all the homeowners that did testing for.
Okay.
I'll send out next week.
Okay, thanks.
The new well project, all the samples were taken, lead and copper, POFAs, POFS, and 1,4 dioxins. They all came back last week. I sent them out this week to DOH, and so I'm just waiting to hear back from them on the approval to move forward on the new well. Everything looked good. All the water looked great when I sampled it, so the lead levels were low, the lead and copper levels were low. I'm not sure on the PFAS and stuff, because we just recently started testing for that last year, so. I'm not sure, we'll just wait to hear back from DOH. All on testing.
The parts per billion or something are really low for those, right?
Yeah.
But what triggers it being in the water?
The 1,4 dioxin stuff is,
For the PFAS, it's like, just from the training, that was like.
Yeah. It's all just from whatever. From the fire academy or whatever the leaks in the lakes, but. Where our wells and stuff are, the water usually pushed out, not towards the wells, so we don't have. We don't have a lot of PFAS in our area down that way yet, so we'll see. Water services, we tapped and connected the new service on 414 and County Route 5 for a new home, 2 weeks ago. I have 2 more scheduled hookups, still the barn on Bassett Road. I still haven't heard anything back from them yet, and County Route 1 for a new home build. I did receive some engineered plans, but I'm waiting to hear back from the boring company to move forward with that project. They did do a tapping fee last week, so I'm just waiting on to hear back from the boring company, and I have to send the plans to DOH just to make sure they're compliant with all of them. Leaks, the last meeting, I was called in for Logan Ridge's water service again, and their pump room broke. I was called in for a low tower level, so immediately I drove up to the pump station and their pump blew off again, so. It was a 3-inch water line wide open. Started draining our tower again, but luckily it was the first spot I checked, so. We shut them off, it was repaired. Justin and I spoke to the new owners. They're gonna update their plumbing in the pump room, and we also recommended them to put a meter in the establishment to determine if there's a leak in between the meter pit and the building. Which they did, and it's up and reading, so we'll determine if there's a leak in between the meter at the 414 and the meter in the building, so.
I know it's not on here, but do you want to mention your leak that you fought over the weekend?
So Saturday when I came in to do rounds, I noticed that our Logan water tower was at 13 foot, which is normally usually at 17 or 18 foot. So I looked at how much we pumped 70,000 gallons up there within 12 hours. So Jeremy and I went out looking all day, finally found it. It was a fusion connection to the new pipe that blew, which we haven't seen yet. It was next to a fire hydrant, but it was under 240 psi and we lost. I couldn't pump water to the tower. I couldn't keep up, so I had to shut a little section off. It wasn't all the way up, but I was under pressure, so we were able to get parts Monday, and we got it all fixed yesterday.
So there was some houses without water over.
There was 3
Sunday.
houses without water, but we offered bottled water, and we told them to go to Smith Park for showers and water. They had water, but it just didn't have water pressure.
Oh, interesting.
So we were able to get that fixed, but we've never seen a fusion break before. We had to grind the pipe down and get a special permit with special bolts. to get it fixed. It's back up and running, so. we're just-
Hopefully it's a water.
we're afraid it don't keep happening.
Oh.
I think it was a well that when the company did it, they knew it went bad because we found a piece of concrete in front of the water. So they must either try to cover it up or they just knew it was gonna break at some point, so they put it there so it didn't
Interesting.
pop off. For that fence, I reached out to a couple companies and I noticed Justin reached out to Baylor Fence. We received 2 more quotes. I'm still waiting for Whitmore Fence for a quote, but we received a quote from Atlas Fence And Valor thoughts.
I just had a fence put in and it was the cheapest quote and then I had at least Whitmer, CNY fencing, you might find out.
Okay,
Is that who you had, Whitmore?
I had Whitmore comments, yeah.
No, this was CNY fencing,
Oh.
they had the cheapest quote by far.
All right, well, we can hold off.
I
I
don't
didn't,
know. We had a welded wire fence put up. I don't know if they do chain link, but we'll do
Okay,
fencing of lots of
Some
kinds.
people don't do commercial fencing.
Mm.
I'll be fucking.
let's put this on hold for another month so we can get these last two quotes. I didn't realize you'd talked to them.
Yeah.
Balland actually reached out to me. They drove through and saw the damage and asked
Oh,
if they,
really?
if we wanted
I
to quote.
called them today, I drove up to Pine Bill, and I noticed the quote was on. page of the
Yep.
quote. So we're gonna have two quotes for the month.
Like,
What more
well,
quotes I
maybe
sent
for
out,
contact, I can send it to you.
what more quotes I sent out pictures a couple of weeks ago, but I've never received them, so I just don't know if you guys.
Okay.
What if we get back to them.
Great.
Josh, can I ask you, what the Hatch company does? I just saw the bill and I wasn't familiar with that group. The Hatch company, HACH.
Oh, hot,
Hot.
so they do all of our maintenance on all of our equipment. And
All the stuff in the water plant.
yes, all of our equipment to run chlorine tests, all of our analyzers and our pulse gives. It all has to be certified through DOH in the states, so we gotta come down and work on all of our equipment.
And how often do they have to come, monthly or?
Every 4 months they come down and service everything. So it's a 1-year contract.
Mhm.
So they never sent us a contract and I reached out to them finally and they sent me the contract.
Nice.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay, Jane,
Ready for me?
it's all about you.
No, it's not. All right, through the town clerk's office, we took in $4,495. $4,283.84 was paid to the supervisor for the general fund. DEC for hunting, fishing licenses got $108.66. The animal population control fund through state egg and markets got $35. And the health department for marriage licenses was $67.50. Excuse me. Water district, it was a billing month, so we billed $63,082.44 for metered water, $4,857.05 for the repair reserve fund, and we collected $1,600 for 2 new connections. One was just only a $200 fee because it was for a connection that has been off for several years, but it was turned back on, could be turned back on. And the other was a $1,400 new hookup. So then we collected in water payments, $24,072.06. The repair reserve fund collected $1,568.40, and we actually collected $3,000 in connection fees because there was a $1,400 billed out after the last billing that didn't get paid until just recently. So total collections were $28,640.46. That leaves still an outstanding balance in the system of $64,741.39. About normal. Just a real quick preliminary update from dumpster day. I think it went well in most places. Hector had some mud issues. I think Hector had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 people help. I don't know from what Justin could tell me. They had 7 dumpsters, 1 was metal, the other 6 were the junk items or the C&D as it's called. Of course, the swap meet was held there, which Ann participated with. Which, I don't know the dollar amounts you guys collected in donations because someone forgot to bring it to me today. Mecklenburg had 4 dumpsters, I believe, 1 metal and 3 of the C&D or junk, whatever it's called, and they had one to. I think they had maybe six people helping with the dumpsters and 2 with the swap meet, and they took in $140 in donations. Reynoldsville, we had 2 people. We had 12 people, sorry, not 2, 12. We had 3 of our town dump trucks filled with metal. We had 2 of Sword Out's dumpsters filled with metal. We had the 2 large semi-trailers that we get from Sword Out's filled with the furniture, C&D, all that crap stuff, and 2 other dumpsters. We had $1,289 in donations. A little less than last year, but still good. That's only because I stand there with a jug and I greet everybody, and they don't dare go.
jug.
They don't dare go by me. And we did have a guy back into a dumpster by the building where you go into the electronics. He was a bit upset, wanted the town to pay for his damages, but he went up to one of the guys and said, how are we gonna get my damages paid for? I backed into the dumpster, and the guy, which happened to be a volunteer, but said, but sir, you just said you backed into the dumpster. If you're backing, you're responsible. Guy wasn't happy. He called the cops, wanted a police report. State troopers came, and unfortunately, the gentleman was issued a ticket for unsafe backing. I feel bad for him, but our highway superintendent and myself and the volunteer all said, none of us are calling the cops. There's no damage to Casella's dumpster. There's no damage to the other dumpster that we have out there for metal that we dispose of regularly. So we all told him, we're not calling. If you want a police report, you're more than welcome to call. And he called and then ended up with a ticket. So when that comes into court, that's going to be interesting. Other than that, it went very well. We had 12 people here, but we really only had 12 people until noon. After noon, we had about 6 of us probably left, because some of the highway guys only worked till noon, but it worked well. We unloaded in 3 different places here, and we kept a steady stream of people moving. So
I think we should give the highway department special thanks. They worked pretty hard, and a number of them spent multiple days because they go around and
yeah, we did 15 pickups for senior citizens across the town. They only missed one, which I got the phone call on Friday morning that they missed it, but I assured the people, because they were only up Voorhees Road, I assured the people, don't worry about it. I'll get somebody there with the truck Saturday morning. At 7 o'clock Saturday morning, they were there and picked that up before we opened up here. So
I did do a pickup in Mecklenburg during dumpster day.
Did you? Oh, thank you.
They had a couple of water heaters and hot tubs.
Good.
And I do think like they did a great job, but that we should get like some split shifts, because not having heavy equipment and Hector and VLH at the end of the day was, I think, pretty much dangerous for the folks of us that were there. So we were loading with no front loader into 8-foot tall dumpsters after grinding all day. So it was getting kind of sketchy.
Yeah, unfortunately, whatever guy got sent over there was one that had
to leave.
to leave
Yeah,
by about
and
1.
and
So
everyone
yeah.
was great. I just think like for next year, like just a little bit of tweaking to make sure that end of day we're not.
I actually think if we were only gonna have the part of the day, it'd be fine for it to be, at least in the afternoon. You know, because it's actually not that helpful early in the day, because people can just walk stuff to the back of the dumpster.
And all of us were tired.
Yeah, it's a long day. Definitely a long day.
Big shout outs to Bump, who came down and drove out of his way to come smash everything into the dumpsters, because
At the end
we
of the
were gonna, I refused, but Liz was gonna jump up and start smashing down.
All that
It's-
wet, nasty trash.
Oh,
yeah.
Smash it down.
it takes a lot of people to pull it off and to move the amount of stuff that we move, but.
Yeah.
At least it doesn't end up on the roads, in the woods and in the national forest.
Oh, absolutely.
We got a lot of people thanking us too.
Yeah.
We had a lot of people, we actually had people, because we had recycling here too, so I had to manipulate the traffic that needed to go to recycling that didn't have anything for dumpster day. And several people had said to me, well, we didn't realize it was dumpster day, and I said, well, recycling's had flyers for 6 weeks, so I don't understand why you haven't, but some of them came back with stuff for dumpster day, so. It worked well, but even some of them gave us a donation, and I said to him, if you only have recycling, you don't have to give me a donation. And the guy said to me, he says, but you're worth it. I said, okay. It went in the can.
I thought it was a whole lot better as far as electronics. They didn't bring a lot of electronics to Mecklenburg. You wanna put them in the dumpster.
I think that
Right.
message is finally getting
I
out.
think-
Maybe it's finally getting
but-
through that they
but-
can come to recycling.
Yeah, they can bring
Every
their
week.
electronics
They don't have to wait
every
till
week.
dumpster day.
They don't have to hold them and wait for dumpster day, although we still, I think as new people move in and they don't realize or they don't
It's
ask.
good once in a while just to post it on the Facebook page.
Yeah, we try, when people call in, where can I get rid of a TV? I said, Thursdays and Saturdays and recycling, and they just are shocked, but some of them, but.
I think we only had 3 TVs in Hector, one of which actually is sitting right outside of your office, Jane, because I was like, I can't have them put that in the dumpster. So
Okay,
I just put it in the hall, maybe we could throw it in the bin, in the recycling.
yeah,
Wish there was a way we could advertise it better. I think so many people just don't know about it.
I
about
think
what
we did a
dumpster
better
day?
job than last year.
Yeah.
Well, it was in the highlights and the Seneca area shopper, and those are the only, that doesn't quite get to everybody in the town, but we can't make them open the paper and read it.
I know.
I ran
Um,
around postering, Patrick from the sustainability committee was sharing stuff on Facebook, so we tried to cut through the noise, so I think it was busier than last year.
We're always busy here, so I can compare
I
it to
was
the other
thinking-
places.
I was really thankful Reynoldsville did chicken barbecue.
Yes.
Yes, it was nice to get.
We had warm wet carpets for lunch.
I'm sorry, Anthony, you missed your chicken dinner, and I'm sorry you missed your chicken dinner, but I gave it to the shredder guy.
You
Perfect.
just had to hang around.
'Cause the shredder- Cause the shredder guy, the nasty files that were in the shed that I took out to be shredded. He went through all of them and pulled out things that couldn't be shredded or couldn't go through the shredder, and he did it. Says, I'll take care of it, don't worry about it, you just go do what you need to do. So he got your chicken dinner. Sorry.
Gerlandis will make up for it tonight.
All right,
Okay,
thank you, Jane. All right, now we're gonna move on to my reports. And George is here to discuss comprehensive plan. The work that your students did. Everybody got a digital copy of the updated or proposed updated comprehensive plan. As you can see, it's a large document. That's why we did not print them out for everybody here.
And actually, I was going to print them out. We're having renovations in Sibley Hall. And they sort of didn't tell me that my board is closed and the coffee machines turned off, but I will get them to you. No.
You kind of promised it to us.
Well, it's been an interesting day. And so, but, and the other thing I could not find was an adapter, so I could put up a PowerPoint, but we can do with that. I can just go over the high points.
If
For
you
the plan.
join the Zoom meeting, I think you could go on this.
I could share the screen with
I mean,
you.
it's not very big, but,
Now,
okay.
yeah, this will be fine. You know,
we've done we did fine for about 5,000 years without power. So, but yeah, it was an interesting exercise for me and the students to learn about the town of Hector and the trends in it. I mean, I drive through it a lot. I've been noticing the trends in terms of development and the like. But starting off with housing units. Okay, the town of Hector actually, between 1990 and 2020, added about 572%, 572 new homes, housing units within the town. And that's actually 45% of all the new housing units in Schuyler County. So that was quite a surprise for me. So yeah, Hector is growing much faster, I would say, than other towns in the county. I suspect, it's Enfield and Ulysses are sort of filling up with the people coming out from Ithaca. And now Hector is sort of next in line. I heard a story 10 years ago that actually Burdett has become fairly popular. And I've noticed that a lot of the homes in Burdett have been renovated, upgraded, etc. as well. So the other thing too, and this is, we looked at occupied housing versus Schuyler County, the state, Hector. And what that means is what percentage of the dwellings in the town are actually occupied versus vacant dwelling. And what a lot of people don't realize about this is that it can get tricky, because in the case of Hector, roughly 3/4 of your dwelling units, housing units, are occupied. That means about 1/4 of them are vacant. Okay. And compared to New York State, where it's roughly about 85% of housing units are occupied and only 15% are vacant. And of course, vacant can be anywhere from it's on the market and it's empty to it's abandoned. Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Is of that 3/4 number, is that including short-term rentals? Airbnbs?
I was just going to get
Okay,
to what
please.
this is the twist. Okay. The census occurs the night of March 31st, April 1st. And where you happen to be sleeping that night is where you're counted. Okay. And if you happen to have a second home on Seneca Lake, the odds are you're not there. And so tourist communities, summer vacation communities have an artificially high housing vacancy rate because of that little thing that most people are not vacationing the night of March 31st, April 1st. In fact, of course, in upstate New York, you're probably shoveling snow. So, but I just want to point this out. It's more likely than not a higher than average number of second homes in the town. Again, Hector, yeah, it's in terms of growth, okay, had the number of new homes 1990 to 2020, but going to another source in the census, about 50% of the housing stock in the town of Hector has been built in the last 45 years. Again, that's indicative of growth. And that's 50% of in Hector versus 38% for Schuyler County as a whole. And roughly about 28% of the housing stock Hector was built before 1939. And of course, that's a huge spectrum because they started building homes in Hector about 1800. Okay, and again, one of the things I've noticed because I do historic preservation is there's an awful lot of old Greek revivals homes. And generally they went out of popularity around 1840, 1845. So that gives you an indication of the age of some of the housing stock in Hector. This is, this is the one map that I wish I could show, but I'll just explain it. It's in the plan and this is where the students, they did a good job mapping, but they didn't follow through with any analysis. But this particular map, and it's actually on page 29 of the plan, if you have it in front of you.
I do.
They call it the measles map. But what it is with satellite imagery, satellite imagery, came online in a big way in the late 1994. I remember. Okay. And every year, not every year, but 3 to 5 years, New York State upgrades its satellite imagery. And today's satellite imagery is very good. We also have Google Earth, which is useful. But what I had the team in the class do is take the 2022 satellite imagery and next beside it the 2002 New York State satellite imagery and essentially mark the location of every new home, new business, residential, as well as residential multifamily, commercial retail development, industrial development, and also another trend in rural areas the past few decades has been the shop storage structure. A lot of rural residents have been building these. They're 25 feet by 30 feet or so. They're small, but they can have a wood shop or any other type of shop, or there's storage for various vehicles. Okay, so we count those. And then another area of investment is agriculture. Pinpoint any sort of new barn or agricultural structure and put it on the map. Greenhouses, wineries, and we're still debating this one, but New York State considers, wineries agriculture. Okay, of course, farm breweries are officially agriculture, farm distilleries, cideries, etc. And we're sort of debating on whether, for instance, in the case of Hector along 414, are they agriculture or are they commercial? So that's a question, but these maps are very useful because they show exactly where.
And it is up on the screen, it's pretty small, but if you wanna see it later.
That's it, yeah. We will get a larger version, and it does show too that, again, the red dots are single family residential and it really is scattered throughout the town. But most, in terms of, and this ties with the local waterfront redevelopment plan, but you notice there's an awful lot of new residential development along Seneca Lake. Okay, so the lakefront is getting filled in. And that's something that I think the town needs to consider. But roughly in terms of development, somewhere around 56% of the new development is actually single-family homes. So more than half the development in town is single-family residential. But again, agriculture, roughly 15% of the new development in the town is investment in agriculture. And to me, that's a real positive. There has been a lot of, again, a lot of it's vegetable production farms. Not conventional agriculture, but it's still an indication agriculture is still pretty strong in the town. So what we did, the plan is actually organized pretty much along the lines of the 2015 plan. And what we have are 8 policy areas, which actually match the policy areas in the 2015 plan. And then with the policy areas, and they include hamlet revitalization, historic preservation, residential living, natural resources and sustainability, community transportation, land use planning, agriculture, farmland, and economic opportunity. So those are the same as are in the 2015 plan. And then the next are a list of objectives for each of these policy areas. And they range from 4 or 5 objectives. In one case, I think there's 9 or 10 objectives. Okay. And then there are what is called, we call them measures in the original plan measures, but what they are is, maybe a better word would be metrics. But it's like, how do we know we achieved those policies? Okay, and so there's this list of measures that you can go to and look at them, say, yes, no, we have, or are we close, or that. And then the students have added like implementation items, which is a list of the actions that the town can take to further the development of the fulfilling the policies. So, and I went through the hamlet revitalization policy just to give you an example. But starts out with policy statement. Okay, in this case, focus future public and private investments within the hamlet. The hamlet should continue to function as the economic, social, and cultural centers of the community. The town's public water system establishes a strategic development axis along New York 414, and that should also guide growth in the town. And again, work to enhance the hamlet's appeal by introducing new services, businesses, public amenities, employment opportunities, and diverse housing options. Okay, but the key message is focus on the hamlets, invest in the hamlets. And again, by encouraging more residential development within the hamlets, it benefits them, but it also reduces rural sprawl. So again, in terms of objectives, prioritize the location of civic, social, and cultural functions within the major hamlets. And again, historically, this was their role in the town of Hector. Okay, and you go back to the historic USGS maps from the early 1900s, you'll find a whole lot of black dots where there were houses within the hamlets. The challenge is the hamlets were there established in the 1800s in a time when the comfortable travel distance in the course of a day was 3 to 5 miles. Actually, total 6 miles, I think it was, but and if you look at maps, old maps, you find that hamlets, old maps, today's maps, hamlets are actually roughly about 6 miles apart. Okay. But the big difference is today we have the automobile. And you can travel a lot faster, a lot farther in the auto than you could on a horse. So, and that's one of the issues with the hamlets. I mean, they make ideal places to live, but there's never going to be enough people to have the old stores and everything that they used to have. Enhance, even so, invest in the hamlets. Valois one is one that we noted. That's a place where I think we think a sidewalk would be a very good investment. And maybe encourage more growth within Valois itself. It was once a fairly large community. It was an industrial community. And it's one of the few hamlets that I see in the Finger Lakes that actually has more than just 1 or 2 roads, or, usually they're what we call actually linear hamlets. They're spread out along the highway. Okay, Valois has 2 or 3 streets going up the hillside. It once had a lot more homes and a much larger population. Okay. Preserve the historical and architectural values of key sites within the hamlets by encouraging adaptive reuse of existing structures. And by the way, on one of our field trips, we encountered the gentleman that owns the old church in Valois. He and his wife. That's a great example of adaptive reuse. You would not know he has a wood shop in that church. But this is the type of activity that we think the town should be encouraging. Okay, improve the overall appearance of the commercial business operations located within the hamlet. And again, there are still a number of old stores, abandoned stores within the hamlets. But, are they ever going to come back? Maybe not, but can they be adapted to new uses? Including residential. I actually, 10 years ago, managed a project where a landlord converted the storefront into a very, very nice apartment. And actually, we took the lead of what the guy at Valois did with the church. Build the front door of the residence at the back of the building. Maintain the window frontage, etc., but it's also a living room, but it's not the main entrance. And again, in Valois, we noticed that somebody rehabilitated that one old storefront, and it's now, I think it's, I don't know.
Liquor store.
A liquor store,
Yeah.
okay.
There's a big sign in front, biggest liquor store in the town of Hector.
It's also the smallest liquor store in the town of Hector.
It's also the only liquor. Well,
Is that because it's the only one in the town of
Yeah.
Hector?
Well.
Yes.
Yes.
The only legal one. No.
Well, but you've got wineries and distilleries all, not
Yeah.
very far away from this place.
Yeah.
And the guy did a great job fixing the building up.
Okay, I think we should keep it a little more focused here, I think, because a lot of this stuff is things that the town Hector is, we're not in a position to tell people what to do with their land. We can make
No,
suggestions,
no.
but like, I think that you're going down a bit of a rabbit hole from my perspective of what we can and can't do, and
Oh,
this is a
absolutely.
small rural town. And there is a lot of tension between what you're talking about that has basically, you're leaning into zoning, it's been a cultural war and a flame up point here.
Oh,
So I want to
absolutely.
keep that in mind.
I've been
We're-
sitting in Ithaca watching.
Yeah.
So, but no, really. And by the way, I'm still going through the zoning. That was one of the things that we were going to do, comment on that, but. Almost. Just about everything Hector can really do. Comes down to incentivize. Work to get perhaps grants for property owners to help with restoration. Educate the public in terms of, for instance, historic preservation, tax credits. Et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, the town is extremely limited and zoning. Is design standards, et cetera. I would not. No. Yeah, again, I've been doing planning and design and development for about over 30 years now.
So what is our next step with this plan that,
Well, the next step is, first of all, go through, I know there's revisions. That I want to make it more, again,
characteristic of the town?
yeah, characteristic of the town. More understanding of the town and some of the situations in the town. And then, yeah, but, and again, go into some more detail on, for instance, what are the incentives that the town could tap from the state, from the county, from even working with, Schuyler County, what is it, economic development. But. Yeah. It's gotta be incentives, it's gotta be assistance, it's gotta be education. Those are probably the big three things that the town could really focus on.
And George, I have a question on census information, because you were referencing some of the census info. The census info doesn't have a county on it. You don't state your county.
What you mean?
Well, it's interesting because probably easily 30 to 40% of Mecklenburg has got a Trumansburg address.
Oh, I don't even go there.
All right, so when you're looking at census information, you're not looking at people from census.
Right, it's the town of Hector.
Okay,
Yeah, the town.
but if we don't list the county on your census, how does that get
Well,
counted?
no, we know that the county is listed.
Mm-mm.
Maybe, I mean, you might not, but the census sends you the questionnaire, and
If you mark your town, they're gonna know your town based on the county.
There's
Because you don't, your town is not your mailing address.
No, but I don't believe it asks for town or county.
or
But they ask about the address. I mean, the question is. On the
But
night of
30 to
March.
40% of are, well, I mean, I do the voting district in Mecklenburg. And 30 to 40% are Ithaca and Trumansburg.
Right, but
There's
they know
something known
where,
as-
they know what county your address is in. I mean, the census is, they asked the question on the night of March
Uh-uh.
31st, who was in this
Uh-uh.
house?
no, I think
I
though,
don't think so.
there's a code known as the Phipps code,
Okay.
F5P. And that may actually be on your census.
Okay,
form,
all right.
Okay.
well, we can move on
Yeah.
from this. As far as like, is there a next step with you? Is this continued next semester? We take the information and
I-
take it to our public committee that we can form? What's our,
I think for, I guess Liz. I know you're not busy.
Uh,
But my idea is, get copies to you guys, get the board's feedback first, and then decide, is this something you want to actually take to the public? But I think too, it's still very much a draft in progress. Okay,
Absolutely, and as it should be,
yeah.
as a comprehensive plan always is,
Yeah, but also, again, there's been no public input.
right?
That's what I was
Which,
gonna
that's
say.
our next,
That, the public input is the next step.
yes,
Okay, and I am on this until you guys are ready to say, yes, this is our plan.
okay. Oh, great,
Okay. I'll probably have a couple students in the fall, I'm not sure, but again, 95% of the work is actually done.
Hmm.
And it's take it, revise it,
get it to the public for feedback.
yeah, for feedback.
Excellent. Thank you for coming this evening and sharing this. I said, thank you for coming this evening and sharing this. I know you were concerned about timing, but I think the timing worked out well.
Yeah. Fine, in the end, it's finally, yeah, it worked out. This is fine, actually. We were thinking of doing it via Zoom, but again. I envisioned you guys had a much larger screen, so, this worked out for me if it worked out for you.
Well, we do actually can project things in the room.
Okay.
we have a slide
A
screen, there's a full screen there.
Okay, well,
On
Next
page,
time.
George, on page 11,
yeah,
under Searsburg, there's a picture hiding one line
I saw that too.
of words, which without the one line of words, you're kind of lost as to where it goes to.
I think,
That's how it printed out from when I printed it, so.
I may have also.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
don't. I'm not sure if it's just the way it
No,
printed
no,
from mine or
I
if there's.
caught this, and I think it's the issue is the photo. Is covering,
Yeah, the photo's too big or,
yeah.
Yeah.
We can fix that, okay,
All right,
okay,
thank you.
thanks,
no,
George.
my pleasure. And again, thank you guys, it was very. Educational, it was a great educational opportunity for the students. Most of them were international students. So it was an opportunity for them to work in a local American community. And do planning in the American context.
That's cool.
Okay. So. Yeah, yes. There's a lot of, caught a few, instead of OURs.
So, well, we'll have to review this as a board and start sending you the feedback.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Excellent.
Okay,
Thank you.
again, thank you.
All right. We have a couple more things on our agenda for this evening. One, some of you have been on the policy committee. We've been talking about the EEDT policy for quite a long time. This is basically comp time for salaried employees. The original EEDT policy was literally one sentence long. There's concern that members of the community who are eligible for this are salaried employees. Their salary is based on the expectation that from time to time they will work more than 40 hours. And there was, in some cases, hundreds of hours being occurred. So the idea was, how do we make this make more sense for all members involved? And we, with, in conjunction with the policy lawyers, came up with a idea of them only earning EED time after 125% of their regular scheduled hours, and also a top limit within, and a use period within a pay period, so that they can't just gain it all. And it's not carried over, so there's no benefit for them to maintain huge numbers of hours. You know, this, they earn it, use it, and you can earn more, basically. There is some commentary on the side, some final suggestions by legal counsel. And also, this is time that is not eligible for payout if somebody retires or leaves the town.
We should use it up before they go.
Yep,
He's gotta give it back.
it's just never spent.
Yeah.
Questions, comments, concerns?
I thought it was good. Reasonable, clear.
And anybody who would be impacted by this change, we're not going to take away their existing hours. They would be able to use that throughout the end of this calendar year.
Do we need to adopt this, or this is, needs to be final tweaks?
My suggestion would be adopted with including the final recommendations.
I'll make a motion to adopt the earned employee discretionary time policy with the 3 side comments in the final version. If that's how it's supposed to be said, but
I'll second that.
We have a first and a second. Any other questions or comments?
I just had a question about that comment number 2, where it says hours worked in excess of 125% of the employee's expected hours is put in the EDT blank, and the comment does say, how will you know how many hours the employees work? And I guess I was curious about that too. Our salaried employees, are they currently filling out a timesheet?
Yes, they fill out, because salaried employees, especially in the highway department, they get paid out of different buckets of money, and so they track
So
their.
even our salaried ones are filling out what?
Yes.
field
Yeah.
they're working in.
Yes, they're
Yeah.
filling out a timesheet that shows what they worked, what they took off, what they used.
And they are, I mean,
Time.
the other side of that is, I mean, it is currently tracked, their hours that they are going through, because we do have a current EED policy that they're using. So this is a refinement of that, and they do get the hours tracked. Any other questions?
No.
Well, if there's no other questions or comments, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Who seconded that?
I did, Liz.
Thank you.
I've been talking with Ian, who is working with Seneca Lake Pure Waters in the Seneca Lake. I'm drawing a blank on the organization. The intermunicipal program for water quality. And he's asking for this letter of support. They're initiating a new program that the town of Hector will be able to also qualify for. It's geared toward, and I have on the back, they have this particular sample resolution, I think, did a good idea of suggesting what it does. The New York State, I mean, they're working with the Department of State to find funding for smaller projects where they would come up with 75% of the funding, and the municipalities can match with in-kind labor for the other 25%. So it's the smaller scale water quality projects. For example, things that Smith Park could potentially be benefit from this, that if we wanted to install something to improve the water flowing out into the lake to provide less sedimentation and things like that, they would come and, you know, maybe it's a $5,000 project and they would come up with 75% of it, and we could do the in-kind for the other 25% while we're actually doing the installation of the project. this does not have to be approved before the July meeting, so we don't have to necessarily vote on this tonight. I just want to get it out there. I think it's a quality potential that we might be able to cash in on in the future.
What's the hesitation about?
I mean, we can, I just, because it's something newly introduced, sometimes we don't always vote right off the bat. People want to gain some more information or stuff like that. So that's the only reason. I mean, I'm in support of it. I think it's a good idea, but I didn't want to force it down everybody's throat or have people, you know, if somebody has questions, we can get you more answers and then we can do a final movement. So
Well, we don't have a resolution,
Well, you have that one.
that one right here,
the sample one.
on the other side.
Sample one. I don't have,
But we don't have our own resolution yet.
no,
But this wouldn't be.
No, it wouldn't be a
This would-
resolution. This is, I'm asking to
that's the
sign this
letter.
letter of support.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'll make a motion for the
Supervisor?
supervisor to sign the intermunicipal water quality demonstration network
Letter of support.
letter of support.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All right, I will sign that. And the last thing is we were led to believe that starting last year, Schuyler County would be paying for the polling expenses, which is $300.
the
That's
site rental.
The
like
site rental.
Like a site rental to the fire companies.
right
Per site or per?
Per
per site.
Per site per year. We had always,
Five
been-
sites in Hector, I mean, we have
No.
5 voting districts.
well, you're not gonna pay the town hall to be the town hall.
And we're not paying in the village of Burdette
And you're
because
not
the
paying
village of
the
Burdette does
Village
that.
Burdette. The village handles that one, so it's three, it's actually 3 sites, it's Mecklenburg Firehouse, Valois Logan Hector Firehouse,
Sure.
and the Searsburg Grange.
So it means we pay
So
900 a year.
For years, we have paid them all $300 a year for like a token rental for election purposes. The county did not pay them in 2024. We did not know that. We didn't pay them because we were told the county was taking that over. They were taking over all of those expenses. They didn't pay them in 2024. The county says they're not paying them. And they're not paying them in 2025. So Mecklenburg specifically is asking, are they gonna get paid for 2024? They would like to request to be paid for 2025. If we pay one, we need to pay all 3. So that's where we're at this point, is coming back to the board to say,
So I
what you
thought,
we didn't
I
budget
remember
for it.
reading that from them, so from
We
Schuyler County.
Yeah, now Schuyler
So-
County says that never happened and we're not.
What? Wouldn't it be in our meeting, wouldn't that be in our?
I don't
agenda
know, because it
attachments?
started back at a point in time when Elvin was still here.
Oh,
And so I don't know. I mean, we were told specifically we didn't have to budget for anything for election purposes because the county was taking it all over. And then for whatever reason, this payment that's always been paid to the polling sites was,
but wasn't there
God.
something more recent than Elvin where they were gonna pay for it in lieu of something else? Like,
Mhm.
wasn't that
I
like just
distinctly
months
remember that,
ago?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Within the last
this
year.
winter?
Well, it would have been longer ago than that because we didn't budget for it for 24 and we didn't
didn't.
budget for it in 25. So in 20, probably,
so the last we paid the sites was in 2023. So they didn't get paid in 2024, and Mecklenburg is kind of saying, you know, we counted on that income and we didn't get it. I mean, it's not a lot of money, but still.
so we, you know, obviously I can't just write checks like this, so I had to bring it to the board for a conversation.
What's the total ask is 2 years of 900?
Well, it'll be it'd be $900 for 2023, and technically, we don't typically pay for this until after the election cycle. So we wouldn't pay for 2025. We pay
2024.
2024, and next year we would do it one in 2020, in November of 2025 for the 2025 election cycle.
So for this year, because it's not budgeted in either year, you're talking a total of $1,800. This particular year. And then next year we would put that back in the budget at the $900.
So if we don't do this, the polling station people have to eat this money.
Yep.
Doesn't seem
Yeah.
particularly fair.
No.
I'll make a motion to cut a check for $1,800 to
Well,
people that.
Well, well,
no,
well.
no, it's not one check.
However many checks we need to cut.
Okay,
One to
all right.
land.
Well,
Let me tell you
Yeah.
what I drafted out. I drafted out,
Like your resolution.
I didn't like it either.
yes.
It's been a while.
I drafted out, resolved to authorize the supervisor to pay $300 each to Mecklenburg, Valois, Logan, Hector, and Searsburg Grange for facility use in 2024, and further resolved to authorize this expenditure for 2025 to be paid after Election Day. And further authorize the supervisor to transfer $1,800 from a 599 general fund. What is that?
Fund balance.
Fund balance, yes, fund balance. That's what I was looking for. General fund balance to a 1450.4 elections contractual.
That's exactly what I meant to say.
I second the motion that Anthony made.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any further conversation on this topic? Jessica, just in relation to what you said, I am pushing back and forth with the Board of Elections about this, and they're asking for,
See, because.
no, you're not, we all feel that.
We all feel that way. We have been back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
They're asking for proof,
Can you search your emails?
so.
I don't think we got the email, but I remember either Jane or Justin saying it at a board meeting. I don't remember reading it in an email that
I
I
don't
got.
know, well, it would probably go back up into 2020. Early
One or two.
2024, 20, yeah, might have been even into 22 or 23.
So we're not
You-
completely
you-
dropping, we're not completely dropping
You-
this, but in the short term,
I mean, it's just.
we're gonna authorize it. It's,
We have to vote on it.
yes. So all in favor of this resolution? Aye. Anybody opposed?
Motion to adjourn.
I oppose.
Okay,
I don't think we should have to pay for 2024, we can pay for 25, but.
You're voting opposed.
Motion passes. I second the closing of ceremonies here.
We're not done yet,
No, we still have.
those ladies gonna respond.
Oh,
I don't have any.
I made a motion to adjourn. There's no more papers in my stack. We went through them all.
I seconded that.
all right.
Done.
Make a motion to adjourn, takes precedent over any other.
Smash
Thank you, Jim.